He's here. Welcome to the stream, Dick Masterson.
Hello. What's up, guys? Thanks for having me on. Eric, what are you doing, man? Why are you this sensitive to simple criticism? Like, even coming from Ethan, who's like an industry veteran, dude. It comes off as so childish and insecure. You know that, right?
I disagree. I think you're dramatizing what's happening, but I'm cool with that.
Well, read chat, buddy. Read chat, because they know. Chat always knows. It turned into a very petty and very childish flame war between us. And that's where it is.
No, that's not what happened. There's no flame war between you. Like, you came in with the. Why would you try to lecture me on some things that we should go through when he specifically goes through that internal dialogue?
I didn't say he could fly, you jackass. Flash.
No, that's not what I see. All right.
Yeah, to be fair, I read the book.
You just said no. What you just said, what you just went. Now you're very angry, and that's cool. But you just calm the fuck down. You ain't gonna do shit.
I'll be as angry as I want.
You're not gonna do shit. You're not gonna do shit to anybody. Anyway, like I was saying, you tried to lecture me.
Pull up the stream that he did with Nina and watch it right now. Let's watch that comedy.
Can we not say yes or no? We're all anti-pedophile.
Yo, I'm anti-pedophile.
Of course.
I'm anti-pedophile.
Everybody in the world has been pretty much anti-pedophile, right?
Not Vito.
Doesn't seem like Vito does, because every time someone talks bad about it. Oh, here he is. Okay.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, you got 10 minutes, and then you're gone.
Unfortunately.
I don't think I'll need 10 minutes. I guess I just wanted to come on, and there's been a lot of critiques of me. And I guess, why don't I just address them head on? Does that seem reasonable?
Go for it.
Okay. You know, I've dealt with heat before, but I've never had hundreds, thousands of people calling me a pedophile.
Vito, that's because people don't like that.
Flash, I made a huge mistake. I reacted badly to a lot of negative criticism coming my way. I thought I could brush it off by making a bunch of jokes and going, yeah, that is me. That is, and then, you know what? I realized that isn't working. Clearly, people are actually just believing these things about me. So if you actually pay attention to my internet presence, I don't say these things. I don't make these jokes that you accuse me of making all the time. Now, occasionally, like Ethan will come on the show and he'll go, oh, you know, keep girls away from Vito, whatever. And I'll laugh and I'll go, yeah, I know what you know, because I go along with the joke. I've obviously sullied my reputation. And at this point, what am I going to do? Ethan, how could you make that joke at my expense? I go, yeah, I got to own it. I made some stupid pedophile jokes. Everybody really hated it. I get it. Everybody was really offended by it, and that was my trying to put a shell around myself. Oh, you can't touch me. I can say whatever I want, whatever.
That's fucked up, dude. Like, there is.
Tug, can I intervene for 1 minute here? Vito, are you a pedophile?
No. But
you like kids? You attracted to kids?
No, I'm not.
Okay, let me explain something. See, this is why I'm having trouble here. 2007, because a lot of people were calling me a Nazi. I started putting out material that suggested that I thought that was funny. I put out a sketchbook called My Struggle. I got my name tattooed here because they were calling it a swastika. They were saying my signature looked like a swastika. And I leaned into the joke because I didn't know what else to do with it. You know what I mean? Like, nobody wants to be called a Nazi. I'm not a Nazi, but it's like, if that's funny, I guess. And it was kind of like... self-effacing. What I didn't realize was that my peers, who were, I thought, joking with me, who were my friends, would all turn on me and actually call me a Nazi, and then sit there with struggle sessions with me and say, do you understand that the Jews were persecuted by blah, 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 blah. You guys started this. You guys started calling me a Nazi because I voted for George Bush. And so, I thought we were friends, and I thought we could have this sort of, little joke between us, and then suddenly it became not a joke. And I have had to live with the results of the fact that half of the comic book community thinks I'm a literal Nazi now. So the reason why I just asked Vito if he was a pedophile is because he should just say no. I'm not a Nazi. You know what I mean?
You keep leaning into it. It's a very big dichotomy for me. I'm like, I can't figure you out. Are you actually trolling all the time, or are you actually like a sympathizer?
I am
like,
not
it makes
a pedophile.
no sense.
I'm not a pedophile. I will tell you that a million times. It's the most abhorrent fucking thing you can do to a child, and as somebody who deeply cares about children, I do not want pedophilia to be a thing that is normalized or engaged in society. Here's my situation. I'm a comedian. My audience knows that for the last 2 years, I've had this label placed on me. So I can either lie to my audience and go, oh, it's not happening, I don't have this bad reputation. Or, again, as Ethan comes on the show and he goes, oh, there's Vito, keep the kids away. I can go, ha ha, yeah. And again, like Ethan says, they call him a Nazi. You lean into it a little bit. I acknowledge it. I have to acknowledge it. I'm not going to be dishonest and say I never said anything and I've never had a controversial opinion in my life.
Like, are you what people say you are?
You're
This whole
pretty
thing.
civil.
Yeah,
you're better than Dick.
That you're in with, as many people on the panel. I give you some props for that.
Our entire ecosystem is built on edgy jokes. See, this is the whole thing. This is what we do, and I don't want us to descend to the level of hypocrites where we're like SJW's going, he is the thing he's joking about, because I endured that and it still affects my life, and I'm not going to be a part of doing that to somebody else. I'm just not going to do that. And I really think people need to just kind of go, okay, just ask him directly. Is that who you are? And he's being very sincere now. He says that's not who he is. If he was one, I would be the kind of guy who would say, get rid of this dude. He's saying he's not that thing. And so I just how about if you just take him at his word?
So I just kept my headphones in, listened to music and podcasts, and did the job. And I was able to never get fired, despite being a minor e-celeb. And it was 7 years ago, almost to the month, in fact. But I finally said, "Hey, I'm going to leave now because I'm making shitloads of money on the internet. Bye."
Fuck you.
Bye.
So, I don't really want to say, but how's that working out for you?
Not making quite so much money, earning less now than I did as just a postman because of the various throttlings that can now happen on the internet. But I'm still working my dream job. It is a dream job. Yeah. I just happen to be earning a pittance from it.
That's causing the shootings.
I don't know what's causing the shootings.
Okay, all right.
It's a very complicated subject.
No. Take my guns, I'll kill you. That's not complicated.
Okay, but how about what's the age to get a gun?
0. You got -9 months. You got to defend against abortions now.
You should not be allowed to have more.
I'll come at a girl and stick a gun in there. Here you go.
We have wolf whistling made illegal. Men who wolf whistle or make sexual remarks to women will face prosecution or street harassment, even if they believe it is a compliment or joke.
Don't be in the UK. Don't be in the UK. Don't be in the UK. It's in the UK.
It is in the UK. Yeah, this is in the UK.
So far.
So even if they believe it's a compliment or joke, under legal changes announced by Suella Braverman, the Home Secretary is to toughen a proposed new street harassment law so that potential offenders cannot escape prosecution by claiming they did not realize their behavior amounted to harassment. The new bill, so it's not a law yet, it's something that is being sort of proposed or tabled, okay? This new bill, due for its final report stage in the House of Commons on Friday, will make it an offense to cause, quote, intentional harassment, alarm, or distress, end quote, to a person in public based on their sex.
As you said, you'll notice it only applies to men and only when addressing women. The gray area between harassment and compliment is what the law is squeezing through at the moment, in total disregard of the grossly illiberal separation of first and second class citizens. As a man, even if you think you're complimenting a woman, it doesn't matter. You could say, "I like your shoes," in the softest, campest voice you can muster, and that can land you in prison for 2 years, because you ought to know, and this is how it's worded, you ought to know that a reasonable person might feel harassed by that. And yeah, even whistling is banned. That's what it's called, wolf whistling. Even if you're a man within earshot of a woman. So it's not even freedom of speech at this point. It's the freedom to make any fucking sound when any woman in the vicinity doesn't like that sound.
I was
If
just gonna
you're
say, whistling doesn't sound like a very English thing.
No, I don't know the difference between a whistle and a wolf whistle. Like if you're just whistling a tune. If a woman hears you whistling that tune, it was like, "Are you wolf whistling me?" And I'm like, "No, well, you were whistling, but I'm not a wolf." Yeah, but what's wolf whistling? I don't know. You're under arrest, bruv. You don't have a license for that whistle.
Says she told the Telegraph, quote, "Women have the fundamental right to walk the streets without fear, and I'm committed to ensuring that criminals who intimidate and harass them face the consequences." So, end quote, right? I mean, there's more, but it doesn't really matter. The point is, they're taking something that is not a right, and they're not just calling it a right, which it isn't, but they're trying to make it into a fundamental right
to live
that
without
women
emotion.
should not feel uncomfortable. And so, like, this is the reason why this whole discussion about rights needs to, like, be tamped down, because this is when it gets excessive. I don't know if this is going to pass, but I do fear for the track record at the UK, and Scotland. Don't brag about your sexual conquests. But anyway, so yeah, you guys can take it over now, Hannah or whatever.
I feel like the big thing is they're calling it a gendered fundamental right. Just women have the right, they think, to walk the streets without fear. Which, by the way, you don't have the right to a particular emotion or the lack of a particular emotion. You don't have the right to never be sad. You don't have the right to never be afraid, at the expense of changing other people's actions. You can be a sociopath. I mean, you can never feel anything but anger and resentment and frustration, but you don't have the right to make somebody else facilitate that. And this is something that is a consistent problem with feminists and other progressives, saying people have the right to experiences when what they're really trying to communicate, what they're really advocating for, is the right to take something away from somebody else in order to have those experiences. Right? You have the right to pursue happiness. You don't have the right to expect someone to give you happiness. You have the right to earn a living. You don't have the right to take that living from somebody that has earned their own. Right? You have the right to try to make sure your needs are met, that you have enough food, that you have shelter, you have clothing, by earning a living. You don't have the right to demand that somebody else gives you food, shelter, and clothing if you're an adult. The only time you ever have that right is that you have the right to expect your parents to provide it as a child. And if they don't, it's abuse because you're a child. And anybody who thinks that they have the right to just have those things provided to them by somebody else without them having to pursue it or take any effort in it, etc., is a child. This is what I'm talking about. Feminism being the wedge to usher in authoritarianism and totalitarianism. Women's feelings will be used to usher out your right to free speech, your right to defend yourself against violence, your right to contact with your children, your right even to be treated as a member of your family, right? Your right to earn your own living, your right to pursue happiness. Those things will be crushed if the law is constantly allowed to act on women's feelings.
At what point in this whole debacle is it okay to advocate for men's rights? Even to the point where you can readily call yourself a men's rights advocate without being accused of just whining and complaining.
Yeah, right.
This is where we are. Women can have you arrested and imprisoned for 2 years for making a sound. And if anyone advocates for men having the right to make a sound, we're just playing the victim. It's so fucked. And like I was saying earlier, if it was bad enough when it was just the proverbial doghouse and it only happened in interpersonal relationships. Well, now it's not just the proverbial doghouse, it's the literal prison And it's with every conceivable interaction with any woman. And it still doesn't count as a disadvantage faced by men, let alone a barrier, never mind a form of marginalization. Heaven forbid a form of oppression. I am leaving this country as soon as I'm allowed in the US. I am a me-shaped dust cloud. I'm not safe here.
Yeah, it's not good.
And I say this as I only ever leave the house to go to the fucking grocery store. I never talk to anyone, and I never even make eye contact with anyone. But even I'm not safe, because for all I know, I could be exuding some kind of aggressive scent. And if a woman feels encroached upon by that aggressive scent, then I'm going to prison too. Oh, that's ridiculous, is it? if I told you 10 years ago that making a sound would be a crime, that would have sounded ridiculous. But it is now a reality, a rapidly encroaching reality. There is nothing any fevered feminist imagination can dream up that won't become reality sooner or later. There are no brakes on this train. It will keep going until every man is incarcerated and all the labor necessary to maintain civilization is done by incarcerated men, while women swan around the streets drinking their mojitos and their pumpkin and spice lattes, screaming bloody murder at each other, by the way, and still blaming it on men. Fuck, guy, failing species.
Sheep. Here they come. Let's see what they do. Come on, guys. Sheep. Okay, comes the boys. Sheep. So one issue is that they've got some good food over there, so they're not as excited as normally, but here we go. Once a few come, they all follow. So like if you can get a couple people to wear a mask or take a vaccine, a lot of people will follow, right? It's just like that. Sheep.
No, because that's the thing. So apparently you mocked the Grand, and I mean that in every sense of the word, Tess Holiday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do this thing called Fat Watch where I keep an eye on these fat broads because we all like to, turn away from them, just like homeless people and like black people, black teenagers killing black people. It's like, I don't care about it. I don't want to look at it. But I like to look at it as hard as possible and expose it. Or else these fat pigs are going to take over our society, right? They're going to be waddling down. Every airplane is going to turn into Operation Dumbo Drop. And I don't want that to happen. So I'm trying to expose it. And that's what I got banned for.
Could you imagine, like, if every airline just had to have those military transport jets because that's the only, like, they'd open up at the nose and the fat people would just waddle in and sit one chair each row and take up the whole fucking plane and that'd be it? Could you, like...
Where are they even going?
They're going as far away from a diet as they can get.
Tess went to Disneyland and then demanded that they change the rides, like the sizing, because she couldn't get on it.
I really think they need to actually allow that and just allow that to completely break those theme parks. And
Dick's Channel was banned and it was brought back immediately and then it was re-banned again.
Yeah, because the Indians looked at it and said, yeah, I think that's good. And then the computer looked at it and said, no problems here. And then some fat woman at Google HQ said, well, I have a big problem with everything that's going on here. Obviously, you're gone.
Despite making up 13% of the mass of the United States, Tess Holiday is responsible for 100% of the bannings of Dick Masterson.
Can I sue her? Can I sue her for what she's done to us?
Oh wait, not for getting you banned, but just in general.
No, in general for harassment. She's been harassing me for so long.
Why does Tess Holiday harass? Like, why does she care about you?
She like, are you a channel down?
I'm going to ask you. I'm going to tell you a word. You tell me what comes to your mind. Bureaucracy.
I couldn't say it. I'm not supposed to mention it. But that's what comes to my mind. Government?
Anything.
Government.
Good, bad, too much?
Bad and too much. That was a point-blank question.
Why aren't you supposed to answer it?
Well, that wasn't, the government wasn't the first thing that came to my mind, but the government was my second choice.
The first?
The Army's flagship museum will not be decolonised, its director has said, as he declared that Britain should not be ashamed of its history. The museum was previously criticised for the so-called sanitisation of the British Army's history by campaigners who had claimed it had an outdated approach to colonialism. The Conflict in Europe exhibition showcases the role of Britain's armed forces in various conflicts, with artefacts including posters aimed at recruiting citizens from the Empire. But speaking to the Telegraph, Justin Polish said he would not decolonise the exhibition, saying that history must not be considered through a modern lens. Based. No, there's no decolonising to happen here. Based. I don't believe we should be ashamed of any of our history. Based. I think if you look at the history of the world, it's been shaped by a number of forces over the millennia. It might be the Greeks, it might be the Romans, it might be the Spanish or the Portuguese, and of course Britain had its role to play in the shaping of the modern world, along with many other nations. I think it's very important that we tell these stories and lay out the history, because if we don't know where we come from, we don't know who we are today. Based.
All right. I do need to make a backed by account.
So go to backed by, make a backed by.
I'm going to make a backed by. Is there still a fake veto on backed by?
I'll delete them.
Can you do that?
No, I can't delete. I can never delete your. We can never delete your subscriptions.
Yeah.
And your audience connection. The back.by/name.
You own the URL.
That is a domain name.
Yeah.
So that is a thing that exists in Web 2. Like the government can take that, but the financial relationships that exist between you and your people, we can never take that. No one can ever take that. So you can just make like, if the government comes in and says we're taking back by, whoop, you can go make. Well, okay, this is like
you have contracts set
N-word
up.
F slur
Yeah.
set up dot back by, and it will all just keep going. Like
I wish more people would take it seriously, the thing you're doing. It sounds like you have some guy coming on your show, some gun guy.
Yeah. Don't worry, I got a 5-year plan. I understand the rules of engagement.
I don't, and that's why I'm terrified all the time.
Yeah, because you're like, we all should get along and just like,
yeah,
we work best if we're like we're all just like cooperating. I will kill. The only way to stop tyrants is to kill them.
Yeah,
and nothing else will do. So that's the situation we're in, and they're gonna try to kill you first. All right, let's do super chats.
Sake for 2 says, with the TDS channel gone, my life has no meaning. I'm right there with you.
Sorry.
Pool karaoke.
Man, I don't know. Like me, just like me existing is illegal.
Yeah.
Like all the stuff I can't fuck. Cocaine is illegal. Fucking everything like I want to do when I wake up and just exist is just illegal.
Yeah.
So I just never have any kind of conceptions that I'm allowed to do anything.
And like all the like forced self-censoring that you have to do, and like, oh, you can't say this word or whatever else.
I have to do that in real life too.
But if I'm talking to my audience, I should be able to say whatever the fuck I want.
Well, go on back by. You can do that.
All right, I'll go on back by.
What sort of cock ferret would I be if I didn't go in there? It's a bit nipples though. I'm doing it though.